Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to the part 3 of this series, the knitting machine series, where I show you everything you need to know from the parts of the knitting machine to knitting your first garment. In this part, I'm going to be showing you how to cast off. If you haven't seen the first two parts where I name the important parts of the knitting machine, how to knit, the mechanism of knitting, how to increase and decrease stitches, how to fix drop stitches, then you should check those other parts. I'm going to be linking them down below. But in this part, like I said earlier, we're going to be casting off. I am going to show you two methods that I use the most to cast off. One method that is stretchy and the other that is non-stretchy. So let's just get into it. The first method I'm going to be showing you is the method that is not as stretchy. So I'm going to be using my lash tool. I have a piece of fabric here. You can't just like pull your fabric off the knitting machine. If you do that, your stitches will unravel. So I have a fabric that I've knitted here. I used tension 8. I'm going to be using this latch. I don't know why I can say that word. This latch tool or transfer tool. It looks like this. If you saw the second part, then you should be familiar with this tool. If you can focus. Okay, so it looks like this. It looks like a crochet hook, but with this latch. I think that's what I'm calling it, latch or lash, like I famously say. So this fabric here, I have knitted a couple of rows and I use tension 8. So when I use this method, I like to, or any method, when I'm about to cast off, I like to switch my tension from whatever tension I'm using to 10. So using this dial here, I'm going to switch to 10. So let me just do that, or the highest, which is 10.1. So that way the fabric that I knit or the rows that I knit next will be relaxed and easy for me to cast off. So I haven't done that. I'm just going to knit one row. Sometimes I need two. It's time for me to cast off. With my carriage on the opposite side and using this, I'm going to start casting off. Making sure that my carriage is on the opposite side, I'm going to be starting from here. I'm just going to insert my tool under the stitch here. You can see this loop on the needle. So this one, I'm just going to insert my hook under it like so. So my hook is underneath, or my transfer tool is here. Then I'm going to push my needle forward, the needle on the knitting bed, and I'll pull backward. So now I have that stitch on my transfer tool. Then I move on to the next stitch. Again, I insert my hook underneath like so. So once I do this, or first, if you notice, the first stitch I moved off the needle is behind this latch. You can see it's here. By the time I insert my hook, the next stitch, my latch closes. So you can see it closes on the live or the latest stitch. Then I'm going to do the same thing, which is, sorry about that. So once this closes, you can see the older one below and the newer one in between or inside the hook, like so. I'm just going to push my needle forward and back. So now I have two, and then I pull. So this is essentially like crocheting. If you can crochet, this is going to be very easy. Again, I move to the next. So now you see that the second stitch has gone backwards and the third one is in between or inside the closure, the latch. I push, I pull. So now I have two, one inside, one at the back. So then I pull. So when I pull, then the new one will go back and become the old one. So next I'm going to move on to the next stitch and do the same thing. So this is my transfer to cast off method or my lash to cast off method. This method is not stretchy or is not as stretchy as the one I'm going to show you next. I like to do this when I am casting off around edges that I don't mind them not being stretchy, or I don't even want them to be stretchy. Maybe seams around the shoulders. I like to use this method. So again, you can see that I'm just pushing, pulling. So I have two, and then I pull through. And once I pull through, the new one will move to the back and become the old one. Then I pick another one, a new stitch, like so. My lash tool will close, and I push, pull. So I will continue to do this till I get to the end here. Very easy. If you are just starting out, you might find this like maybe a bit nerve-wracking. I remember I used to worry about me dropping my stitches, but if you saw the first part, then you know how to fix drop stitches. Even if I like see I do this, it's not going to just unravel or do except I pull, so I can still pick it carefully. See, just making sure I pick all the plies of the yarn and I pull. That was a good example, but you get the point. So again, it's essentially just crocheting. Honestly, you are pulling through, you're pulling the new stitch through the older stitch, and you're just like essentially crocheting as you go. So this is the transfer to cast off method or latch tool. Again, I'm going to link some other methods of casting off down below. There are a lot of methods that you guys can explore, but this is one of the two that I like to use. So it's easy for me to do this, to tug at the fabric and see my loop, because I switched to 10.1 tension. If I did not do that, it would be a little bit difficult. Not impossible, but it take longer for me to like dig through. Sometimes this happens. You can see that the last two stitches kind of undid themselves. So what I'm going to do is, using the method I showed you in part one, I'm just going to knit by hand. So I'm going to place my yarn over the, trying to show this to you. So I'm going to place my yarn here. So once I push my needle forward, this stitch is going to go back, and I place my yarn over and then I knit. So I have knitted that. Again, this last one, you can see that my stitch went to the back, and I'm going to place my yarn over and the lash is going to close over it. So it is essentially this mechanism that I am doing with the transfer tool, just the knitting, very similar. Just that I'm moving one stitch, like I'm looping one stitch through another one, or the one prior, just to have them, I'll say, intertwined. So I've done the last one. All I'm going to do is just like yarn over, hold on, let me do that again. This is the last stitch here on my needle, on my transfer tool. I will yarn over, and then my lash is going to close like so. You can see I'll pull through, and then I can cut my yarn. This is the non-stretching method. As you can see, the edges are clean. It looks like the transfer to custom method. If you remember the custom method I showed you in part one, so you can see that the edges are clean. It's not stretched, it's not going anywhere. This is where I casted, and I use the E-wrap custom method. You can see how bouncy that one is, but the cast off, it's not going anywhere. It's very sturdy and clean and neat. So this is the first. Okay guys, so this is the second method. I'm going to be using a darning needle. So this is what I call the darning needle method. I don't know why my hand looks so ashy. I promise you guys, it doesn't look this ashy in real life. I think it's lightened. Anyways, I'm going to be using the darning needle. This method is very stretchy. So essentially, what I'm going to do is, again, I'm going to knit one row. I've used tension 8 here. I'm going to knit one row with tension 10.1. So my row is like really relaxed. If you see what this tension 8 looks like, see that it's not as loose as the loop. The loops under is not as loose as the ones that we had while I was casting off earlier. So I will knit one, switch my tension to 10.1, and then knit my last row like so. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take out my yarn from my yarn feeder. So you can see it is out of my yarn feeder. I'm going to measure 3 times the measurement of the fabric. So whatever your fabric is measuring, just measure like this, 1, 2, and 3, and I do some extra for good luck, because I feel like it's better to have excess than not enough. So then I'm going to cut after getting like some extra. Again, you lay your yarn over the fabric that you have so far, 1, or the fabric you want to cast off, 1, 2, 3, and this is my good luck piece. It's a lot, but better safe than sorry. And I'm going to feed this yarn through my darning needle like so. And see, just normal. So now let me move you guys closer. So you can see the loops here are longer and wider. That is what I want. And that happened because I switched my tension to 10.1. But if you are like already knitting at 10.1 tension, then you just cast off at 10.1 tension. Do not worry about that. So again, I have my yarn passed through my darning needle. So I'm just going to insert my darning needle on the last stitch here. So this is where my yarn is coming from. I'm starting from where my yarn is coming out from. So I'm going to insert it here, the last one from the back. So front, back, like so. I hope that is clear. Front, back. And then from the back, I come back front on the next stitch. So front, back on the first one, back front on the next one, like so. So then I pull through. Now I'm going again into the first one, which is this one, but this time I'm going on to the third stitch instead of the second one. So front, back, back, front, but on the third stitch. So I'm moving forward now, and I pull through. So next, instead of going on into the first one, I'm going into the second one. So now I'm moving as I go. So I'm going front, back into the second stitch, then back, front into the fourth stitch, like so. I pull through. So now I'm going into the third stitch, front, back from the third, back, front from the fifth. I will continue to do this, front, back from the 1, 2, 3, from the fourth, back, front from the sixth, front, back from the fifth, back, front from the seventh. So you're always going to skip the one in between, like so, except from the first two that I showed you how to do it. So this is the stretchiest method. I know it takes a little bit longer, but with more practice, it doesn't take me as long as it used to. So I like to do this when I need to cast off like my bell bottom pants, so my fit flared pants. I like to do this because I find that if I use the transfer tool method to cast off, then it like shrinks my I mean, like, what's the point if I want a flare and then I'm not casting off using a non-stretching method? So what you're essentially doing is moving your needle front, back. So now you can see that it's coming out from here. So that means I'm going to insert my needle into the next one or the one before, front, back, and then the one after, back, front. So this time around, my yarn is coming out of here. So that means I'm going to insert my needle here, the one behind, front, back, and then back, front on the next one. So this is actually very easy. You can rewind this if you are a bit confused. I find that like with more practice, it just becomes second nature, and then you can do this faster or as fast as you would prefer. Okay, now I've gotten to the end of the fabric. So my yarn is coming out from here now. I'm just going to insert it in the one prior. Pull, but this time instead of inserting it into the back here, I'm just going to pull and then pass it through this loop like so. Let me show you that again. So I've gotten to the end. See, my yarn is coming out from the last stitch. So what we will do next is insert here the one prior, but instead of putting it here, the last one, we're just going to wrap all the way, and then this loop here, I'm going to put my needle through and pull. So I have secured it. I've secured the knot here now. So now you can take this off your machine and see it's stretchy, it's bouncy. This is where we just casted off of, and this is where we casted on. Let me compare it to the other one. And see this one is sturdy, it's not going anywhere. It has a cleaner edge though, I must say. But then this one is a lot more stretchy and bouncy. It doesn't have a cleaner edge or anything. It's even like folding up on itself more than the other one. So this is what both of them look like. Okay, so this is everything I'm going to be showing you in this video. Stay tuned for the next part of this video where I'm going to be knitting a V-neck top bottom up. I'm going to be using all the method that I've showed you, all the techniques I've showed you in all the parts. So if you have not seen the previous parts, then you should check them out. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also turn on bell notification so you don't miss our next part. Thank you guys so much for the love and support. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.